This morning on Daybreak, we'll talk more about the difficulties of facing international adoption during a pandemic.
And how local businesses are adapting to the new mask ordinance in Springfield.
Also, why one doctor believes the state of Arkansas is in some trouble when it comes to dealing with COVID-19. We'll have all that for you and more coming up this morning for you on Daybreak.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us here on Daybreak. Today is Monday, July 27th. I'm Jennifer Abreu.
And I'm Joe Morano. Time for a new week. Hope everyone had a good weekend. It was good to get outside. I got to the lake and the pool, Jen. I felt very accomplished.
Yeah, that sounds like a successful weekend to me, the lake and the pool.
Yeah, and tired out, though, I'll tell you.
I bet you are. Yeah, because the sun can tire out and the water, too.
Yeah, certainly.
But it was a nice weekend to be outside. I also went to the pool both days. And yesterday, we had a little bit of rain.
I noticed that.
Interrupted my plans, but thankfully it went away pretty quickly. So it didn't stick around for too long, at least where I was.
Yeah, those storms were just like so spotty. There was like a downpour downtown, but where I live on the other side of town, we're getting spit on, you know?
Yeah.
So we had some of those spotty storms yesterday. Rain chances are going to increase as we head through this week, though. We're starting out with some dry roads this morning. It is dry down on the square, 74 degrees in Springfield with some southerly winds and some sticky dew points. You've got a couple of clouds out there this morning. A front up to the north and west will start to work its way southward, and that will bring us some showers and storms. It's 74 degrees in Springfield, 75 in Monette, 75 degrees in West Plains, and 76 degrees in Rolla, with these dew points in the upper 60s and lower 70s. So we're starting out pretty humid this morning. You've got very uncomfortable conditions on the muggy meter map. Things are just feeling pretty humid out there this morning. We'll start out dry as we head through this morning, but then showers and storms will start to roll in as we head through the afternoon. We'll find some scattered showers and storms out there on the roads, so we'll have some of those storms and possibly some wet roads. So at the pool today, we'll have clouds, a couple of showers and storms with some locally heavy rain and lightning. Temperatures much cooler than they were over the weekend in the middle 80s. So a front arrives today and it stalls through the week, which brings us rounds of showers and storms and some cooler temperatures. Details on that coming up in 10 minutes.
I mean, he was already our son and we had to go get him. I mean, there was just no question in our minds that we couldn't leave him there.
In our new normal series, we take a look at how our daily lives are now being affected by coronavirus and the global pandemic. One local adoption agency says international adoptions are down since the virus began. This morning, we hear the story of one family who went through the process of international adoption from China during the pandemic and right before the teen was about to age out of China's system at the age of 14. Caller 10's Madison Heaver has this story for us this morning.
Anne and Chris Champion decided after seeing a photo of their son Luke on social media that they needed to adopt him.
We started the process of adopting Luke last August. December, we started hearing about the virus in China and thought, well, I hope that doesn't affect us. And then January, it started getting worse.
Their son was getting to the age where he would be aging out, so they were already facing a time crunch.
On top of that and travel restrictions, as soon as the Champions arrived in China to bring Luke home, they had to quarantine immediately for 2 weeks.
It didn't quite work out exactly the way we expected. We were sort of constantly looking at contingency plans. Well, if things get worse here, what happens if one of our family gets sick or something? So, there were times when we had an extra plane ticket booked back so that if one of us had to come back and one had to stay, how was that going to work?
Not to mention relations between China and the U.S. weren't great in March and April. And China was worried about foreigners bringing the virus back after it had already shut down.
Chinese hotels really weren't very welcoming to foreigners. They worried that they would be able to find places for us to stay in China.
Some of the biggest challenges were more mental, which is just, when you're undertaking a trip like that, you want to be able to control as much as you can control about how you're going to get there and how it's going to work. Well, there wasn't a whole lot about that trip we ended up controlling.
But Regina Smith with Nightlight, the adoption agency, says the more pressing concern for families is to bring their child home.
The overarching concern above the concern of contracting the virus has been trying to bring their child home.
You know, having made the commitment and decided that that's what we were going to do back last August, of course, he knew we were coming.
He wanted to know when we were coming.
And there just really wasn't a choice.
Despite all the challenges with COVID and everything, really, there's still hope. There's hope for these kids. There's hope for these adoptive families who want to go through this process.
The family is now back home together in Kentucky.
You know, I think we will look back on this year at some point for us and see it as one of the most important years of our lives in terms of our development as a family and our spiritual development and our faith journey. You know, really excited to see where Luke ends up in this process. I mean, it's clear he has a ton of potential.
That was Madison Heaver reporting for us this morning. And the champions say if they could manage an international adoption from China in March and April of this year, more families can do the same.
After businesses started reopening a couple of months ago, many new practices are in place, like including masks and extra cleaning. We spoke to 3 local businesses in town to see how they're adapting to this ordinance and how business has been different since it passed. We heard from driving instructor Bill Nelson, Jeremy BOYTS, who owns Queen City Graphics, and Tiffany Renee Samples, who's a licensed esthetician. They all talk about how they're adjusting so far.
Things have changed quite a bit. So now I require all my students to have a mask. If they don't have a mask, I provide them one.
I don't even think we ever considered printing a mask until the last 90 days. Honestly, I thought people were going to hold out. Since this ordinance passed, we've gone through about 12,000 masks.
I've been texting my clients beforehand so they know what to expect. I have a thermal thermometer that I use on their foreheads before they come in. So they're told about the masks. If they don't have one, I have had disposable ones since the beginning.
Coverage this morning. If you're a parent of a student at Springfield Public Schools, the deadline to decide between all virtual or a blend of seated and virtual learning plan for this fall is Friday, July 31st. Also, for the first time, SPS is requiring registration for busing. So if your student will be riding the bus, that form is also due this Friday, July 31st.
Branson may be the next city to join the list of places requiring those masks. The Board of Aldermen will meet again tomorrow to discuss the masking ordinance proposal. The board originally met on the 16th, but voted to postpone that because the ordinance needed more work. Here's what the ordinance currently requires right now as it stands. Residents and visitors over the age of 13 must wear one both indoors and actually outdoors as well. Also for you, all businesses must outline requirements on distancing and face coverings. There's a $100 fine and a possible revocation of your business license for those that don't follow those guidelines.
News from around the region. A doctor says Arkansas is heading for a disaster. Dr. Noah Greenspan is the founder of the Pulmonary Wellness and Rehab Center in New York. And he says new COVID-19 cases in New York have been declining because people quickly realized how bad the virus can get. With states in the South reopening, he is terrified at how many people are not taking it seriously. He says if things don't start changing, Arkansas is in for a rude awakening once it hits its peak. Well, still ahead for you here on Color 10 Daybreak, what the White House is saying about another round of stimulus checks. Plus, Elisa is back with a look at our forecast. Stay with us.
From Color 10 Ozarks First, Jennifer Abreu, Joe Morano, and weather with meteorologist Elisa Rafa. This is Color 10 News Daybreak.